And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 5, episode 11. This is also my fifth D3 basketball podcast of the last 24 hours. There's a lot happening right now. And I have Coach Bill Sall with me. And Coach, what I wanted to show you is that I've had these podcasts going. I have all this prep work. Look, there's Maya Smith prep. There's Tyler Sims. We got BJ Dunn, Sean Westerland. I want to show you the Coach Sall prep sheet if I could get back to it here. Coach Sall, season 5, episode 11. That I thought to myself, Coach, if I can't talk to Bill Sall without any notes by now, I'm not a good podcaster. So I really appreciate you joining me. How's everything going in Grand Rapids there?
Hey, it's going great. We're geared up and ready to roll. It's always funny. You start a year and you go, man, it seems like it's a long ways away before we actually get cooking. And here we are, right? Season right around the corner. Our guys, the coaching staff's excited to get it going.
This is really a kind of a Sikma Invitational prep podcast. This will be a quick one, just kind of your take on where your team is heading into this thing. I know that you've had a couple exhibitions or scrimmages. I'm not sure what we call them. I think you played Ferris State and then Saginaw Valley. Um, I know you won the Saginaw Valley one, lost the Ferris one in a tight game. Just in terms of where your team is after a couple games against other competition, how you feeling about things?
I think we're getting where I'd like to see us. Defensively, I'm really pleased. I think just from a lot of veterans back, a lot of guys that know what it takes to really defend and at our level and also for our school, they get that piece. And so hopefully that continues. Offensively, it's still a work in progress. Look, I mean, we threw the ball to Jalen Overway probably 30 to 35 times
Sure.
a game, right? And played off of him. And now it's way more of a different offensive style. We're trying to play a little more tempo up the floor. And it's open. We're trying to find screens and angles and cuts. So, sometimes it looks really good, and the next possession it looks like we have no clue what we're doing. So that piece is the work in progress. But so far, I'm really excited about where the team is and what we're doing.
You return a ton, even with your superstar Jalen Overway out with unfortunately that ACL. You return a bunch, namely Uchenna Egekeze, who is as a 6'4". I don't know what, I don't even know if he has a position. He's just a 6'4" hooper that guards you, and he gets to the basket. He can score it. He is quite a weapon. You got to feel pretty good about coming into the opening weekend with him on your team, Coach.
Oh, absolutely. I've been coaching for, man, I think I'm going into head coaching year 24, I do believe. I've never had a player like him. It's interesting. He's going to leave after this grad year as, top 10 in about every category you can imagine, right? From
Yeah.
defense to offense. And you're spot on. You can't really give him a definition of this is his position. Defends as good as I've ever had anybody defend. But then on the offensive side, he just does all the little things. And so you can't really quantify, hey, what is Uchenna? It's like every game it's a little bit different. But what he brings to the table is awesome. I'm really happy to see him, last year be awarded with an All-American honor by D3 Hoops and, a preseason All-American this year
Sure.
because, a lot of times that goes to the guys that are strictly the scorers and the leading this and that. And what Uchenna brings is everything, right? And along with just an immense amount of hard work and heart. So it's really cool to see him get recognized.
They do a good job. The D3hoops.com crew, I think Ryan Scott runs that process for the All Americans, but they do a good job of not just looking at the stats. So when you
Yeah.
watch the basketball games, you can point to him and say, that guy jumps off the page.
Yeah.
So also kudos on my end. You've got Owen Varnado back. You have Luca Wrestler back. You have a lot of the guys who had big seasons last year back. Um, how do you figure out? You mentioned Overway being gone. He was the center point of the offense. The ball always started down there, it seemed. How do you figure out now how to take these same other guys, most of the same other guys, and run an offense without that big guy in there.
Yeah, it's been interesting. We have really focused on pace. We've really focused on really how can we get sides as quick as we possibly can. I think the nice thing is the combination of guys we have is a lot of them have the ability not only to score the basketball. I think it's can be a really, really good shooting team, but the ability to get downhill. There's a lot of versatility of what we have with the makeup of our team. So it's really trying to find all those cogs in the wheel and having those guys adjust to yes, there's not the bailout. I think that's the one thing, right? You could run an offensive action and it didn't work well. We'll just throw it to Jalen and go from there, right? And now it's like, okay, this is going to be on you to now make a play and decide what's the best play and how can you make everybody around you better by what you do. So I'm excited about that process. And I think, we're starting to kind of figure it out. It seems like every day in practice, it's a little cleaner, a little more efficiency. So we're getting there.
Now, in terms of the opening weekend here down at my beloved alma mater, so this is a doozy of a tournament, Coach. See, we've got in the first game. I might not get all these rankings right because of my lack of preparation, but you've got Cal Lutheran, maybe 24-ish against Illinois Wesleyan, 16, I think. That's the 5 p.m. game. And then in the nightcap, you have Calvin, number 9, against number 2, Platteville. That is not easing into the season, Coach Sall. Talk a little bit, if you would, about this Sikma Invitational that you're participating in.
Well, it's really interesting. I've always wanted to play in it, right? Because this I feel is just one of the premier Division III events across the country. And so it was like 2 years back. I talked to Ron, and he said, "Yeah, well, we're full here for a little bit, but we'll get you back, in 2024." Great, right? He failed to mention that he was going to make it as tough as it is, right? I mean, and granted, every year I think
Right.
you look at who's in this, and it's always premier teams, right? You're going to play premier teams. I didn't quite realize it was going to be this premier where do you know if they ever had 4 preseason ranked teams come down here? Has that ever happened before?
The first year, I don't know that everyone was ranked, but I think everyone ended up winning their league. The year that
Okay.
was Oshkosh, St. John's, and Hope,
Wow.
maybe. That was
Okay.
good, but I don't think everyone was ranked in the moment. I'd have to look at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is pretty unique. And you know how scheduling goes. I mean, I can't remember what Platteville's record was the day they said yes to this, but they weren't number 2 in the country. So
No.
this is just kind of like the stars have aligned, and you look at this like, holy crap. When you think about Platteville, and I had Coach Gard on, obviously, you know them really well. You guys have played, and you've seen them. How do you approach that opening game against Platteville? I mean, obviously, you know them very well. You know their personnel. How do you approach this game without obviously giving away all the Calvin secrets?
Well, I don't think there's many secrets. It's you're going to play Platteville. You're going to have a really physical defensive team that and granted, understand. I mean, their offensive weapons are through the roof, right? You got the National Player of the Year back. They return everybody with the exception of the big, and they, when we played them, they threw 3 or 4 bigs at
Yeah.
Overway anyway. So it's just the size and the strength. Pearson just went off against us, but I mean, we watched the film yesterday, and it's like, in all reality, I felt pretty good about how we defended. It's just like he
Right.
can just make shots. I mean, everyone was a hand in the face. So I think on our end, man, it's got to come down to how well can we do of, protecting the paint? How good a job can we do rebounding? Because again, we're a little undersized compared to them. And then, take care of the basketball, all those staples. But, we really have to find a way that juggernaut of offense that they have of being able to contain it. But I think probably on the other end of it is, man, you still got to score.
Right.
And this is just such a good, well-rounded defensive team that plays physical. So, yeah, I mean, our work's cut out. I watched that film and yeah, I didn't get much sleep that night because there's a lot of work to do before we feel pretty confident about what we're going to be able to do against them.
In terms of prep, is this like an NCAA situation where like you have assistants watching Illinois Wesleyan and Cal Lu? Do you do you do some prep on Illinois Wesleyan and Cal Lu beforehand, or I'm just curious how you guys approach that?
I'm super superstitious about that. We're never going to talk about Cal Lu or Wesleyan until Saturday, right? I
Right.
mean, and maybe you should, but we will have coaches prepping for all three teams,
Sure. Yeah.
and then really be able to, and kind of like in the instant term, the same thing. Get back from the game you play on the Friday. Everybody get their pizza, and then come down and really start to hash out, hey, what does this look like for the next day? And so it's a short prep, but I think our coaches do a great job of really getting everything in place so that we're ready to go on a really quick turnaround.
It's four great programs. It's four great schools. It's four great coaching staffs. It's four great fan bases. It's a pretty special group. What? Just curious, your travel plans. Do you guys drive to Bloomington? Do you bus there on like Thursday? I assume, is that the plan?
Yeah, we're going to practice here and then leave. I mean, it's Chicago traffic, because you're so
I
familiar
know.
with it,
I
right? I
know.
mean, we could leave early and just get caught there anyway. Of course, we could leave late and still get caught there, but we'll try to get in about 10:30, 11, and then it's really cool. They got the banquet, which is kind of a
Yeah.
really neat experience. I mean, it's so rare that you had the ability to kind of see all the coaches and the staffs and teams beforehand of actually going on the floor and competing. That's the one thing with the GLI that I love too, right? It's like that
Yeah.
night before everybody kind of hangs out. It's just so cool to see the coaching community and really get to know them outside of just meeting them at the games.
And I'll be at your place there for the GLI.
Yeah,
So I look forward to seeing all eight teams. That's going to be unbelievable to have all eight of those under one roof,
yeah.
especially at your building. Yeah, this is going to be quite a weekend. These Snyders, they're coming to town, coach, and I've got them. I don't know if you've ever played the card game Euchre, but I have them in a Euchre tournament, like Matt and Zach Snyder versus like Sikma and whoever Sigma's partner is. What's the line on that? Do you think, are the Snyders too analytical for that kind of matchup?
See, I love Euchre, and here's the thing. In reality, I mean, you have to take chances in Euchre, right? I mean,
Absolutely. Spades
it
alone.
yep, exactly. I mean, you can go lone. It's got to you got to have a little bit of that edge.
Right.
I'm a little worried about Matt that sometimes he's going to
Yeah.
look at the cards too much and try to get efficiency numbers instead of just you got to play
I
your gut.
agree.
You got to play your gut. You might have the Bauer and one other, and you just got to roll with it. I don't know if he's got that in him, so we'll have to see.
And
I'm
these
I'm
guys
going
are,
Sigma by far
yeah,
with
these guys are veterans. I've been at this thing before and I've witnessed this Euchre thing. And like these guys are absolute veterans. So I'm just interested to see how the Snyders do. And I'll let you know how that goes for sure. And I'll let D3
absolutely.
Nation goes, but I know who my money's on. And,
Yeah, I'm probably going 10-5 in the first one, so
I
we'll
would
see.
think so. I would think that's about the line. I think 10-5 would be a victory for them. They move on, have a nice night the rest of the night. So, um, in all seriousness, Coach Sall, I really appreciate you coming on just to talk a little bit about this opening weekend. It should be a blast. What are you most looking forward to with this whole experience? They're heading to Bloomington.
The big thing for us is, what are we going to look like after the weekend, right? I mean, in reality, you could play great. You could play really good, sound basketball, and end up losing two games. I mean,
Absolutely.
it could happen, right? It's in this time of the year. It's, hey, for us especially, right? We're trying to see how is this team going to develop through the year. A great test against amazing competition to kind of get a feel of that. And yeah, I mean, we're going to go out and try to do our best to compete and win, but in the same breath, right? This is going to really, I think, for all four teams, really see where they're at and where they need to go. And I think it's going to be an amazing weekend of basketball.
It should be. And I think, the under the radar team, maybe in this just because of geography, is Cal Lutheran. I saw them in person last year. They beat us and they were fantastic last year. They lost a couple pieces, but they got a couple new ones.
Yeah.
And so I think everyone knows Platteville and Illinois Wesleyan and Calvin. And I can tell people that like Cal Lutheran was outstanding last year. So this is going to be a blast. I look forward to seeing you there, Bill, and certainly look forward to seeing you at the GLI. I'll just give you any final words. So you've got Calvin Nation tuning in, excited that we're less than a week from hoops here, what would you leave D3 and Calvin Nation with today, Coach?
Yeah, it's just a great time of the year, right? I mean, I really appreciate again just how cool this D3 community is, right? I mean, I think on Twitter the other day I saw D3 hoops trending again, right? And it's just something that you don't ever see at other levels, and it's just so unique. And I think the brand of basketball that's played, the camaraderie of the teams, we're doing it all for the right reasons, and I think that's what makes our specific sport so unique. And like I said, it's just awesome to see, this is the true student athlete, hands down.
Yep.
And it's really, in my opinion, what college basketball should be, what collegiate sports should be. And it's really cool to be a part of it.
It is. And, that my DataCast friends, they have this Patreon thing where I get early access to their episodes. And so Matt has this hot take about the CCIW that I can't wait till the public thing comes out so I could start sending this around to Coach Jurakovic and Coach Baines, because my guy Matt basically says the CCIW is terrible again. So we got a lot of hot takes coming out this time of year, Coach, and I just like to roll with them. Like Matt Snyder gave me a gift on this thing that's coming out Monday. I'm going to roll with it.
Well, Matt, stop it. If he truly thinks that, I need to have a conversation with him, because we know how great that conference is, and it's Anyway, we'll let Matt try to defend that hill.
You don't have to defend him, Coach. He's his own. He's got to defend himself. You don't have to take care of him. But Coach, we'll see you in Bloomington. We'll see you at the Shirk Center. Look forward to it, and I really appreciate your time as always.
All right, great to talk, Bob.
You too.